Hello YouTube and welcome to an update video on Lordcraft and OmegaCraft. Here talking about the reasons why it has been such a long time since any news has come out about updates or anything like that, and when you can expect to see the next set of updates. Well, first of all I want to talk about Lordcraft. In celebration of Lordcraft's anniversary, I will be releasing a new mod, which is called Shadow Legcay. This is a mod that is based around the same ideas as Lordcraft, but set in another era of magic. So there is no Thalos. You will not be playing as the Thalos. You will be stuck with a particular element, which will be darkness, which I'm sure you will find when you get it will have more than enough content to enjoy playing with. Darkness is one of those sort of more free elements in terms of how it behaves. There's a lot of similarities between it and just sort of general magic you would see in other things. These are early days in the development, so Lordcraft's anniversary is, I think, sometime in January. So we're coming out at the beginning of next year. That's my plan anyway. It may come out sooner than that, who knows. But it's going to add in a bunch of things. Lots of stuff will be returning from Lordcraft, as you might expect. Lots of things will be changing. Yeah, and it's going to be much more story-driven than the previous Lordcraft experience, which sort of introduced story mode at the end, but didn't have it sort of running the whole way through. This will be holding onto it the whole way, and the research will help to drive the story forward. So let's talk about a couple of the things that I've currently got implemented. So first of them is the Book of Knowledge, or the Arcana Mysterium as it's called now. So there are now advancements, or well, there will be advancements on the way. This one is obviously getting the Arcana Mysterium in the first place. You will receive it from the character Monutan, who you will find out a lot about during the storyline of Shadow Legcay. But all you know for now is that he's another lord. And, well, yeah, he is effectively going to be training you to some degree. So the Book of Knowledge looks a bit different to before. See, it's got a slightly improved texture, and these selections are now a little bit more obvious that it's a selection. Currently you have two in here. Passive abilities isn't got anything shown in it yet. That's just how it is. If we go to the research page, you'll see that things are a little bit different here than they were before. So, start of all, we have a tab. It says BIOS on it, or BIOS, which is Ancient Lows / Shadow Minion for basic. Lows is the ancient word for the Lord. That's what it is in that language, that's LOS. As you can see, we've got a kind of parallax effect going on here, which makes the background animated as you move around, which is pretty cool. There are now lines connecting researchers together, so you can see sort of like how each thing is going to affect what's going to be unlockable. They have different colors, so on. So I can see that I'm missing research for this one, but I can obtain this one, for example. Currently I don't have a research system implemented, however it's going to be a little bit more... It's going to be similar to the previous one, I suppose, at least in this type. However, there's multiple ways to do research. So for example, this one here, dust, requires me to collect a sample of elemental dusts, which I will get from mining crystal deposits, a simple elemental dust. Throw it on the floor and I pick it up. You'll see I get another advancement that says, oops, I broke it. Just collect some elemental dusts. And now look at my book and you'll see the research is complete. I don't have text for it at the moment, for this particular one, but it is there. At the moment I've got a debug thing here, so I can just click on that and it automatically runs me through it. Marking chalk will be the same. Some of these will be changing, so some of these will not be entering letters in future, but they'll be, you have to do a certain thing. So like the dust, you have to get the dust. Things could range from killing a certain mob or using a certain spell, for example. You know, things like that will be other ways that research can take place. Got ritual circles, which will be a new thing that has never been explored before in Lordcraft of any sort. And you can see now that we've completed this page, we've actually unlocked a new tab, which has another thing, block transmutation, which is something, again, that's new-ish. So Shadow Legacy contains many more cosmetic blocks than before. And these are mostly available through the block transmuter, which is a pretty basic block. It has a couple things here, so I can select a color. This one, I can select a thing. Once I've got something in here, I can select a template. I can shift items, and I can not shift items. This is used for automation, so items go into this slot, and they'll be changed in this slot. And then items in this slot get pushed to this red slot, which you can extract from using a hopper or a pipe or something. But it will only automatically shift into the red slot if this is on. So, say I'll get some stone. Grab some stone here. Pop it in there. And I can change what variant it is. So I can change like panels, all sorts of things here. Quite a few options available to me. And I can select the color of it quite easily. So I can say that, cyanstone tiles. And once I've got one that I'm happy with, I can just shift items. It will go in there. And I can just put some stone in. Or, yeah, not andesite. Cobblestone. Yeah, any of the things that would have gone in there before go in. Mossy goes in. I don't think andesite. Oh, andesite can go in. Okay, cool. It's nice there. Oh, probably because it's linked with stone. That'll be why, yeah. Oh. Actually, now I think about it, it's because I haven't actually fixed that yet, so that's still kind of broken at the moment. Which is interesting. So if I stop shifting items. So glowstone can be changed as well. There's a bug, I can fix that later. But yeah, you could. So obviously you don't want to be shifting items if you're putting a new template type in. So I think the templates are stone of any sort that is supported in the variant list. Of course, any of the variants will act as a template of that type. Glowstone, and the other one, I think. Actually, maybe there isn't another one. Let's have a look at Shadow Legacy. It's wood, yes. So wood is the other one. But if you're switching template, then I wouldn't automate it. So you can actually like pick what you want. So like I want pink lamps, which are just basically just light flat blocks that emit light. So if I go time set light, you can see that actually they emit light, and it's pretty good. So yeah, that's the thing. So these are the new cosmetic blocks. There's a lot of them. I'm not showing them all off here. I'm just showing the white versions of each of the types. So you can see there's a fair few to pick from. But they come in all 16 colors, and it's pretty good. Yeah, that's the thing. So the block transmuter will add a whole new sort of level to things in Shadow Legacy in terms of like how you can decorate your base and whatever. So also another new thing is that the research text is a lot more competent. There's a lot more I can actually write, and we even have pages now. So some things will have multiple pages of research available, multiple pages of text. So basic contains a lot because it kind of sets up the entire plot, as it were. Though of course you'll be talking to Monutan, who will explain what's going on, and then you have these notes that you've taken about it, essentially. So everything I'm trying to do here is to make it feel more well designed, I suppose, would be the way of doing it. And that is again followed up with my workbenches. So these return using the same model as before, with slightly updated visuals. They're pretty similar to before, mainly just a UV mapping change to make it look a bit better, and a couple changes to the tops of them. Not much, but just a little bit. The GUIs themselves are much more... They're in line with the block transmuter one now, and they are a bit more defined. They look a lot nicer. Much less clean. The problem with original Lordcraft's GUIs was they were very clean, which didn't really seem to feel right with magic, as it were, I sort of felt. So this is a much more detailed and less clean GUI, and same with this one. The colour scheme for the advanced tier is a bit different to what I was before. It's more sort of... it's slightly more green than before. It was very blue. Then the orange one is, I think, about the same as before, the void table. I'm trying to bring back a lot of the things. Now, this one obviously won't have a lot of use for the first few, for quite a while, I imagine. Like, first few updates probably won't be using anything with it, but it's there. Recipes aren't in yet. That will be coming later on once I've decided how I want you to obtain certain things. Here are all the decorative blocks, by the way. Quite a lot. Yeah, once I've worked out how I want to do obtaining certain items, then I can think about recipes. But generally speaking, I want it to feel a lot more magical and, you know, sort of have a more balanced progression rather than, okay, research, bam, 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 doing all the different researches till I get the thing I want, and then I stop because I've never got the thing I want. I want it to feel sort of like, kind of like you're sort of discovering it a little bit, with a bit of help from the Arcana Mysterium, and it will give you clues. So these will be hinting at like how to get the next research, because some of the researches you won't be able to see them until you've unlocked them, or you know you've unlocked enough of the things leading up to it, which may themselves be hidden. There's a lot more different states. You know, they can be hidden. They can be on different pages. The pages can be hidden individually. Like this one wasn't there until this one became visible, because this is a hidden research, and it gets unlocked by unlocking everything on this page, and when something appears on that page, the tab appears, essentially. That's how that works at the moment. So it's meant to feel a lot more thought out, and I hope that will be sort of recognised when it's released, and may actually be used by a wider audience as a result of it. But yeah, the premise of Shadow Legacy was set in the sort of closing days of the Second Era. You were playing as a particular person. I'm not going to say who it is yet within the story, even though you wouldn't know who it is. But they are Monutan's apprentice. They become Monutan's apprentice by doing some things which you will have to do when I get around to it. To adding that. And essentially your goal is to translate the Arcana Mysterium from the ancient Shadow Minion text to the language that can be understood by lords of the late Second Era, because Monutan wants to teach the original Thalos about magic, but the original Thalos doesn't understand the language. So it's your job to translate it, and also become a powerful wizard while you're at it. I become a powerful lord while you're at it, not wizard. To get my words right. But you'll go on many different journeys on the way, where you have to discover things yourself due to certain things being unreadable and whatever. Yeah, it should be a fun experience anyway. So I look forward to you guys trying that out. So now we move on to the second part of this, which is the OmegaCraft part, talking about the new OmegaCraft 4 update, which is going to be a bit of a change for OmegaCraft, I feel. It's got a very different focus than the previous versions of the mod. So, as you can see, there's quite a few different blocks added. No machines yet. Well, no proper machines yet. We're not quite at that stage. But you can see here we've got a variety of different sort of fucking hydrocarbon type things. And that's because the new version of Minecraft is going to be focused fairly heavily around oil and oil processing. Because that's always something that I feel that mods never really sort of look into much, and when they do, they try to very much push you away from it. But the thing is, when you actually look at our current society, you know, we use fossil fuels a lot. And I feel like this new version of Minecraft, I'm trying to reflect the fact that we use them so much and all of that. So we're going to be looking at processing the fossil fuels. So if I do actually have this machine, it's a petroleum boiler and some fractioning tower segments. You need both of these. They don't have recipes yet. Again, they will do later on when the thing comes out, because this will be how it works. So you take the fractioning tower, and you take fractioning tower segments on top of it, which you can place 3 high, and that will allow these tanks to appear in here. It's got an energy bar on the left, a input fluid bar with a bucket attached to it. It's got the fractioning tower diagram in the middle. It's got an orange dot there, which I can't remember what that's for. I think that's to point out the fact that those are the output tanks on the right there, I believe. So the input tank is on the left here, so you put petroleum in it. Like I say, you can use oil from another mod, like crude oil from Thermal Expansion or oil from Buildcraft. It uses the fluid dictionary to work out, like, you know, what it is. And you might have noticed it says energy 0 out of 0 FE. You're thinking 0 out of 0. So how do I get power into it? Well, that's where this capacitor slot comes in. So the new version of OmegaCraft features these capacitors, which come in 3 different voltages and capacities. So medium, low, and high voltage. So it's like a low voltage capacitor, and I put that in there. You can see it now is able to accept energy. I can't remember whether I got this working yet, but if I pop that solar panel there... No, I have not got that working yet. Okay, well, regardless, in order to give machines a storage for power, you need to put a capacitor in now, which makes it so that you can upgrade them to medium and high voltage as you need to, without having to increase like the casing strength or anything like that. It's just upgrade the capacitor to the next voltage tier or capacity. This will be the same for machines, however they may require you to install high voltage parts, because obviously if the capacitor gives out a high voltage, some of the components in it might get damaged if they're not ready for it. So that's important to note. So if I take the capacitor bank, the Omega wrench, I can pop down the capacitor bank and I can put a capacitor in here, and the capacitor bank works the same, except it has a different number of slots, and for each capacitor I put in here, it will increase its storage limit. And energy in the capacitor bank pushes from this blue one through to the orange one, if it can. And you can change which faces the output by just right-clicking on the outside here. This is your very basic energy cube. It's not great. There'll be a proper energy solution in ESD somewhere later on down the line. It does, however, feature something else which is very new. So if I wrench the top off this thing, because it's got a wooden thing on it, you can see that actually it renders the capacitors inside the machine, and in fact you can actually interact with them, moving them between the slots. And you see this is the blue one because it's in the blue slot, move it to the orange slot, or the grey one in the middle, and that's pretty interesting. It's new for these things. They've got a 6 slot and a 9 slot capacitor bank. These are the other options available to you, and as with the other ones, you know, you can always just put it in. This will support capacitors from any mod that supports Forge Energy. Any of that will work. So these are all the capacitor banks, and obviously when you're finished, if you're going to do it that way, you can just close it off with the wrench. But even with the lid open, you can interact with the GUI or with it closed. So, you know, it's an optional feature, but it's a pretty cool sort of like, I don't know, it's just an interesting kind of cool mechanic, I suppose. I don't think I have this set up yet, but we can test out to see if it is in here. I don't think it is though. But we might be able to pump a solar panel there. And that should possibly be charging that? No, it doesn't. Okay, I haven't got these solar panels set up properly yet, but let us get a charging quad dark panel. We can... Ah yes, this is a medium voltage thing. I forgot about that. And that capacitor was a low voltage, so it exploded. So these solar panels have a readout bar on the left, which is the same as the one on the actual item itself. It will actually reflect that exactly. So I can now put a capacitor in here and get power. You'll see it will start fractioning everything. So it will split it up into different things. Petroleum gets used up and it will produce a mixture of this stuff which gets split up. If you don't have all the columns, then you won't get some of these higher fractions. You'll only get like the tar and the naphtha and the gasoline and the LPG. You need more towers for it. Maximum 3. You can put another one on, but it doesn't do anything, so there's no point. And actually, you can access the interface from any of the fractioning columns, so long as, you know, it's only 3 up. So as you can see, we produced a decent amount of that stuff. I don't actually have a way to move stuff around as a fluid yet, so we'll take that out for now. Let's actually put a high voltage one of these in there for now. So you have a catalytic cracker, cracking furnace, which you can put in a thing such as, let's say, I don't know, what do we want to crack? Let's say naphtha for now. So you put the naphtha in, and you need a catalyst, which I think you can either use bricks, I believe. I think I said bricks, right? Yeah, I said bricks. Good. Or you can use this thing called a zeolite, which is basically a better version of the catalyst, and it's a little bit more effective. It doesn't break effectively because you use up bricks over time, but the zeolite doesn't get used up. So it's very expensive though. It needs hardened polymer and a brick. Hardened polymer you make from obviously producing a lot of these polymers. So that's the catalytic cracker. You can obviously crack the gasoline down if you need as you go. So you can crack anything down to the minimum of LPG. I don't know whether you can crack tar. You can't. You definitely can't crack petroleum. You might be able to crack tar. I can't remember whether I did this or not. I probably didn't. But no, you can't crack tar. Tar is not crackable. It's too ridiculous. However, there is also a steam cracking furnace which requires water, and this one you can take any of these things, as far as I know, and water. Do you need a water bucket for? Water bucket. And it will produce alkene mix. Alkene mix, you get different amounts of it, by the way, depending on what you put in. Alkene mix can then be taken into a polymerization plant, which if I supply with power, can make a variety of things. So, for example, if I put alkene mix in both input tanks, like so, I will start producing polymer. So I get 20 for 2 buckets. And you can use it to make synthetic versions of different materials, such as rubber, leather, slime balls, feathers, paper, string. It's pretty usable, and then you can also turn it into hardened polymer, which can be used for zeolites. It will also be able to use for armor, maybe some tools, potentially, at some stage. But polymer is definitely going to be a useful material, certainly in the making of machines, because rubber is going to be useful for that as well. And obviously you can make it this way fairly easily. But you can also use the alkene mix to refine things. So I could take LPG from the alkene mix, and it should make gasoline. It uses up a lot of the alkene mix when you do this though. But it basically upgrades things from the low chain hydrocarbon to a higher chain hydrocarbon. It's pretty... This block has a lot of different uses for all sorts of things for the processing of this stuff. And it can be used to refine gasoline as well, I think. I'm not mistaken, this one actually makes it into refined gasoline, yes, rather than into naphtha. Because naphtha has a bunch of like sulfurs and things like that in it, which obviously you won't be able to get from just alkenes. But the refined gasoline you can use, which will basically just be a more efficient fuel. But of course you need a bunch of alkene mix to make it. So that's a thing. So this hydrocarbon processing plant system is going to be more interesting than previous ways of producing power and so on. I believe, certainly. And once I've got ways to transfer materials, I'm currently thinking I'm going to do pipes of some description. We'll see how that goes, because last time I tried to do pipes didn't work so well. But I have a better system than I did before, so it should be achievable. We'll see what happens. Yeah, so all of our standard ores are returning. That's copper, tin, lead, silver, aluminium, and magmite. Some of them have had some cosmetic changes, like lead and silver and aluminium. The other three have remained pretty much the same as before. They'll have similar uses to before, maybe a couple of changes here and there. We'll see what happens as we go, really. You might notice there are two different types of solar panel. There are the charging ones and the ones that actually have these little squares on them. The ones that don't have the squares on them won't be able to plug into pipe networks. You'll have to move the capacitors manually. And fortunately there's this thing called a capacitor hopper, which can do exactly that. So you can say to filter on input or output, which will basically say filter on input means if it's actively pulling out of an inventory, it will only pull the item if it fits the criteria, which I'll talk about in a minute. And filter on output means that it will only push items out of it if they fit the criteria. And that will be in situations where something else is pumping items into it actively, rather than it pulling things, is when you need to filter it. So, say if you had a hopper line that's doing something like this, this hopper, if I have it on filter on input, it won't filter anything, because it's not actively pulling stuff out of an inventory, it's having stuff pushed into it. So that would have to be changed to filter on output if I didn't want certain things to go into a chest. So you can say that the operation for success is less than, greater than, less than or equal to, greater than or equal to, or not equal to. And that's referring to the amount of energy that's in the capacitor, and the energy threshold being 25%, 50%, 100% amount of energy going into it. So I can say chest. So we only want to push capacitors that have less than 100% of their energy in them into that chest, which is doable. You saw that one didn't go in. That one went in because it had less than 100% of its energy, but this one won't, because did I not do the world grabbing thing? Okay, that might be filtering on input as well. That will change in future. That's a bug. I'm finding all sorts of bugs today, which is actually quite helpful. But yeah, as you can see, it won't push this one, but it will push the other one. This won't push anything other than capacitors. You can't even put non-capacitor items in here. It shouldn't be able to grab non-capacitor items as well. In theory, yep, that's correct. So it's pretty good at what it does, and it's a lot faster than a regular hopper, but of course it won't be picking up stacks of things, so it doesn't matter anyway. And now, damn it, I didn't mean to delete that capacitor. Now we move on to the last of these items, which is the projectile dispenser and the advanced projectile dispenser. These things are kind of interesting, actually. So they're dispensers, and they work in an interesting fashion. Let's grab some energy for this one. So I can load this up with arrows, for example, and I can right-click to fire an arrow, like a regular dispenser can. It works with a few of the dispenser options. Most things, I think, in dispensers, unless they have some sort of special crazy behavior of sorts, it should work pretty well with them. In creative mode, so it's not using up the arrows, but normally it would. But it can't do spawn eggs, for example, because they're not projectiles, so they don't work. But arrows, I think potions work, right? Splash potions? No, splash potions don't work. Arrows work, fire charges work. Do a fire charge here. You see that works, same as the dispenser does. Fireworks work as well. You can fire fireworks. They actually have a lot more forward momentum when you fire it out of this than they would do normally, because as you know, with normal dispenser it goes straight up, but in this situation it'll fly off vaguely in the direction you're pointing. And there are ghast fireballs which are added by a Megacraft, which do exactly what you expect them to do. They explode. They work the same way as ghast fireballs do. Yeah, it's just how it is. And the advanced projectile dispenser doesn't have more slots, however the projectiles that fire out of it fire faster. So I grab some more arrows out of here. You can load up tipped arrows if you want. So instant arrows of harming, for example. You can sheep. You can see that the arc is a lot better on these ones because it's firing a lot faster. Yeah, so it overrides a lot of the standard dispenser behavior, and anything that uses a projectile as such in the standard sense should work out of them. And they're pretty cool, so usually just use them as sort of like an arrow sort of machine gun as such. They do the dispenser noise when they're empty, by the way, as well. So that's a thing. So these are pretty cool. I quite like them. Speaking, and I think that actually is pretty much it in terms of what I wanted to talk about. I'm pretty sure that's all there is in Megacraft. And all there is in Shadow Legacy. Yeah, okay. Things will be, obviously there'll be new stuff going. There's a lot of work ahead. I'm really excited about my progress so far. It's going to be quite a different experience for you guys, but I hope that you guys are going to hang on and are looking forward to the changes to come and getting to play with them eventually. Should be a good time. Anyway, hope you guys enjoyed this little sort of update video. I'm glad I finally get to sort of talk about what I've been doing. Yeah, January next year, probably be seeing Shadow Legacy because I want to release it on the anniversary. I probably won't release it earlier than that. I will definitely release it at that stage in January, so yeah. And the Megacraft will come out whenever, probably before then, because there's not... all I have to do is add machines and pipes, and then I'm pretty much where I need to be with that. At least for a first release version. So, anyway, I hope you guys enjoyed, and I'll see you next time. Goodbye.